Today, we will discuss an important topic, the recent speeches by Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin regarding the U.S. involvement in Ukraine. Let's analyze the details. Yesterday, Trump released a statement as a former president. Unlike traditional communications, Trump often shares his views in unconventional ways, sometimes through Elon Musk's platforms or other direct methods that do not always make it to mainstream media. However, every time he speaks, it carries significant weight. Let's summarize his key statements. Trump emphasized that he and Putin should engage in direct talks about Ukraine, Malaysia, artificial intelligence, AI, and global military strength. He made a crucial point, stating that Ukraine will inevitably be the first to concede to Russia. He also stressed the importance of energy resources, particularly oil and gas, and stated that Russia is a major player in the global energy sector. Regarding artificial intelligence, he pointed out that China and the U.S. are in direct competition. However, Russia is also making strides in AI development, though it keeps much of its progress undisclosed. Finally, he touched on the strength of the U.S. dollar, mentioning its historical importance. Trump referenced World War II, highlighting that both the U.S. and Russia suffered heavy losses, each losing over 10 million lives in the war. By bringing up this history, he suggested that despite past conflicts, these two nations are not natural enemies and could potentially form a strategic alliance. He praised Putin's diplomatic strategy, calling it common-sense politics. He also hinted at Putin possibly visiting the U.S., an event that could reshape modern history. Trump announced that he had assembled a 4-member negotiation team to work on the Ukraine peace process. The team includes Steve, Special Envoy for Ukraine, Marco Rubio, U.S. Secretary of State, Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor, and John, Director of the CIA. This team is expected to lead negotiations and work on a potential ceasefire agreement. Trump also stated that after the initial discussions, he would personally speak with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He expressed confidence that these negotiations would be successful, suggesting that if he were in office, the situation would have already been resolved. Trump's speech came just before Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the U.S. Notably, Modi first traveled to France before heading to America. Modi held discussions with French President Emmanuel Macron on multiple issues, including the Russia-Ukraine conflict. These talks were significant because France, Germany, and the UK are the most influential European Union nations involved in the conflict. Modi emphasized that EU unity is crucial for ending the war. Interestingly, a viral video showed Macron and Modi together. In the clip, Macron did not follow standard protocol but instead personally escorted Modi out, an unusual move that hinted at deep diplomatic ties between the two leaders. Trump highlighted that the U.S. has given $350 billion to Ukraine, while all of Europe has provided only $100 billion, much of which is in the form of loans. This raised a question: why should America bear the majority of the financial burden in the war? Trump also revisited the events of 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea and a new border was drawn between Russia and Ukraine. He suggested that any new peace agreement should take that historical event into account. A German military commander reportedly stated that Ukraine has already lost the war despite receiving the best Western military training and weapons. Additionally, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth commented in his book that Ukraine will not become a NATO member for at least 25 years. He also argued that real peace in the region can only be achieved if a neutral country, one that is not a NATO member, mediates the conflict. He indirectly pointed to India as the only country capable of balancing relations between NATO and Russia. However, this raises concerns among NATO members about Ukraine's long-term future. If Russia expands its presence in Belarus, Ukraine will face even greater challenges. Zelensky is expected to address this issue in future talks. Trump suggested that if negotiations fail, Ukraine may receive additional U.S. weapons to launch short-term counterattacks against Russia. However, he emphasized that strong diplomatic efforts are underway and that negotiations are happening from a position of strength. Trump's speech covered several global issues, including the Middle East. He mentioned Russia's strategic involvement in Syria and its close ties with Iran. He also proposed reducing U.S. support for Iran as a way to limit Russia's influence in the region. Regarding energy policy, Trump proposed ending oil price discounts and restoring a fair pricing mechanism. He also pointed out that US-China competition is a major issue and warned that Russia's growing ties with China should be carefully managed. Trump also discussed the future of the US dollar, noting that some world leaders, including India's former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, had previously spoken about creating an alternative currency system. He highlighted how Russian President Putin played a key role in the creation of the BRICS currency, an economic initiative that aims to reduce dependence on the US dollar. Trump claimed that the CIA had been actively conducting operations against Russia, similar to past US intelligence activities in India, China, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. However, there have been recent diplomatic compromises that have led to the scaling back of certain CIA operations in Russia. The biggest economic losses from this war have been suffered by European countries due to sanctions and energy price hikes. Meanwhile, China could face major economic challenges in the near future as the geopolitical landscape shifts. Trump's statements suggest that significant diplomatic shifts are underway. If his negotiation efforts are successful, we may see a new phase in the Russia-Ukraine war. However, there are still many uncertainties. Will these negotiations truly lead to peace? Or will the war continue under new conditions? Stay tuned for our next video, where we will analyze further developments. Thank you for watching.